everybody. Go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming in this morning. Good crowd, a lot of energy in the room this morning. Like 7th grade. But anyways, thank you for coming in. We're going to talk today, Ms. Noah and I will talk a little bit about the transition to 8th grade. What's 8th grade going to look like next year? How's it different than 7th grade? Now, we still have quite a bit left of 7th grade, so I don't want to rush things too much. May is actually a fantastic month. It's one of my, I think it's probably my favorite month in schools. When I taught, I love May. It's a matter, they're definitely getting a little squirrely at times throughout the month, but it's one of those things where they've got the routines now. They understand the teachers, they understand expectations. They can do a lot more than when they came in the fall. I always felt as a teacher, if you just step on the gas as hard as you can get a tremendous amount done in May. And as long as the weather stays like this in May, as much as I'd like to see the sun at times, you know, once they're at 80 degrees, once it's 80 degrees and saying like, when are we wearing shorts? When are we wearing shorts? When are we wearing shorts? Mr. Aaron, can we wear shorts today? And eventually, at some point in time, Mr. Brooks, who's the Vice Principal for Student Affairs, will send out an email saying you can now wear shorts for the rest of the year. But anyways, there's a lot of good things, and actually it's been a great couple of weeks here. You know, last week, we can have we had Father Boyle in. Some of you probably came to that presentation. He was funny, he was irreverent, he shocked the kids in some ways. Some of them had read the book, so they weren't quite as shocked. But he made his whole thing. Other things going on, we've got some 7th graders off today to check out a sewage treatment plant at Deer Island. One of the teams is doing a field trip out there as they, again, study issues involving the cities have to deal with. We have 7th graders that have been building churches in their religion classes. We have popsicle sticks and glue guns all over the place, and churches here and there, and you can check some of them out. They're working on their city projects. Yesterday we had the World Series trophy here at school in the afternoon, and that made for a lot of excitement. My son sent a photo of himself with the trophy to his grandfather, who's a big Yankees fan. So and actually 2 of our priests were there when I went down to see the trophy. 2 of our priests, Father Kroger and Father Nolan, were there, and they're both Yankees fans. They're both from New York. And Father Nolan said something like, we've got 27 of these in New York. And Ms. Smith, who's the Vice Principal for Curriculum and Professional Development, said, yeah, you really need to dust those off these days. So there's a lot of fun going on right here. Your sons are working on the city projects on Friday, May 31st. In this area here, they will present their city projects. And we will, at some point in time, send out to you, let you know when during the day your sons will present. They'll each have sort of a 20 or 30 minute block during the day when they're presenting. So we'll let you know, and if you want to come in, and if you're able to come in that day and see that, it's a fun day for them. We try to build it up so they get some nervousness over, okay, this is a big presentation. I think that's healthy for them. Nervous about it. But they do a nice job. They pull a lot of information together, a lot of ideas together to put that out. And next Friday is our annual Spring Palooza, which is similar to Fall Fest, which we had in the fall. So it involves ice cream sundaes and a lot of running around and big blow-up things and bubble soccer and stuff like that. The only difference between Fall Fest and Spring Palooza is Spring Palooza we invite the girls' schools to come as well, and boys can invite female guests. So it's next Friday night. If your son's looking for something fun to do and is available, please encourage him to come. It's a great event. So that's sort of our roundup of things going on. This morning I'm going to talk a little about the academic transition from 7th to 8th grade, what that looks like. Ms. Domitz will talk about some of the social differences we see from 7th to 8th grade, and supporting your sons as they make those transitions. I think you probably heard me say before that 7th grade is about helping the boys settle in and get comfortable here at UC. And I think we've done that. I think most of them are pretty settled in. Some of them are getting a little too comfortable, which is why in 8th grade we try to make things as uncomfortable as possible. And that means it's pushing them academically. It's also pushing them in other situations, and even things like the service day. And the service day in the fall for 7th grade was, raking the beaches and raking parks and cemeteries and cleaning up around here. It's a little bit of labor, but it's not hard. In 8th grade, we try to push them a little more out of their comfort zone, so it's about ministry of presence, which means going to nursing homes, adult daycare centers, and for some, it doesn't push them out of their comfort zone. They're very used to that, they're phenomenal in those situations, but for others, it can be, again, just pushing them into a new place for themselves. So, and throughout the year, we'll do things like that, where again, we do focus on trying to make those 8th graders uncomfortable at times, to get them out of their comfort zone, because that's where they have new experiences and they grow. So academics next year, and it's not like we flip a switch. It has, some of this happens, starts to happen in the spring, 7th grade, different courses, it happens at different times. But overall, it will be more rigorous next year. And I think one of the key things about that is it's an increase in analysis and critical thinking that they're doing in the classes. And again, this is a great stage of brain development as they enter into adolescence. And just as we'll see visible signs of their physical development as they start to grow and get big and they smell more and all of that, there's also a lot going on in their brains and that allows them to think more. So you're going to see things, 7th grade religion, they'll have religion this semester in 7th grade. It's fairly straightforward. As they get into 8th grade, they'll start to see, it's not as morally black and white. 7th grade, Christians versus the Lions, it's pretty easy for them to see, some of that stuff. In 8th grade, you start to get into the Protestant Reformation, you get into the French Revolution, and how it affects the church, you get into Vatican II, and then there's a lot more complexity to it. So the journal questions that they're asked to answer are much more open-ended, and they have to think more deeply, think about some complex things and try to sort of pull that together. In science, in the fall, they will, we do a big unit on evolution. And there are two sort of main concepts that they're trying to get them to understand as foundations for them when they pick biology next year, if they sort of some foundation of these big ideas. But they're difficult. And students have a really difficult time with that. And again, there's lots of ways that they will approach that. But it's just harder for them. And it's good hard. They feel very good about themselves when they start to get it. But you will see that it'll be a little difficult. There'll be some, again, the connections between English and social studies as they look at the year next year. In 8th grade is the theme for 8th grade English and social studies is what constitutes a just society. And so make those connections when they're, and some of that will involve civics unit in social studies, but then they'll research, they do a lot of research in 8th grade social studies into issues of civil rights, they deal with the Holocaust, or women's history, or the Native American experience, or the immigrant experience in America. So a lot of topics, and they're trying to pull some big ideas out of those. And again, more independent research next year, more writing, more critical thinking. Again, they're going to be ready for this. I don't want to be like, hey, this year's 5, next year's impossible. Again, it's a transition. I just want you to understand that it'll ramp up, but again, it ramps up. I'm doing this for a long time. We're ramping up not to say, yes, we only have 10 students who will survive it next year. Ramp it up because they can do this and give them the support. So some students will need more support than others, but we'll work with that. One of the things as you transition from 7th grade writing into 8th grade writing is just more emphasis on supporting points with evidence. And they've been talking about that all year. English, and social studies, and science. If you write a statement, you need to back it up. And they've done a lot of the foundational work in English of find a quote in the book to back that up. And they've been trying to get those quotes. And next year they'll work more on how you successfully integrate a quote into your paragraphs and into your essays? How do you successfully integrate the evidence so it actually makes sense the way you're expressing it? It really does do that. That's a tough one because the students are, all along the spectrum. And some make real jumps at times, and some, get stalled at times too. On just, okay, here's your statement. It's a good statement. Here's your evidence. That makes no sense, and trying to get them to see that, trying to get them to see. So it is. It's about finding the evidence, but it's about really next year. I guess more about explaining that evidence, explaining how does your evidence support your idea. And they're going to be doing that all the way through senior year. That's not something they can learn in 8th grade. They're going to continue all the way up through senior year and in college as well. The pace will be faster in 8th grade than it is in 7th grade. And so I'll talk a little later about in certain subjects it really they'll feel it. The reading level of the materials is in 8th grade English, as they read To Kill a Mockingbird, as they read, many of them read Lord of the Flies, they read 12 Angry Men, Boxers and Saints is what most of them start with at the beginning of the year. Just 2 books looking at, it's about teaching perspectives. It's 2 books about the Boxer Rebellion in China, one from the side of the Chinese and one from the side of the missionaries. And again, we use that to really teach, not because we're trying to teach so much about the Boxer Rebellion, but because we're trying to teach perspective. And it's a great way to go into the year thinking about perspective. But again, the books will just be this, it ramps up. And again, the writing is more complex as they go from a lot of paragraph work in 7th grade to multi-paragraph essays next year. Lab reports are more extensive. And in English, if they're doing the writing, 7th grade, a lot of times they're writing about the plot when they're reading a book. In 8th grade, there's more literary analysis, and they're looking more on theme and symbolism and literary terms and applying those, so they'll see that. A little more, let me talk about math. If your son is in regular pre-algebra this year, he's not going to notice a big jump next year. It's the same book he's going to be in. It's a pre-algebra course that we do over 2 years. Some of the more complex pre-algebra that they do, which is solving equations, 1 and 2 variable equations and inequalities. They'll probably be doing that in the fall, and that can be complicated. But again, it's pretty much in line with what they're doing this year. Second semester, they'll be getting into more with probability and some geometry. Again, some students love probability, some students love geometry, so a little bit different. Again, they should not see a whole lot of difference between math this year and math next year, just different concepts. If your son's in accelerated pre-algebra this year, he is going to notice, and this is one of the things, if your son's accelerated pre-algebra this year, he's most likely going to be in Algebra 1 next year. And Algebra 1 is the course that I would say more 8th graders have difficulty with. And it's right from the start. So that's one thing, and I'll send a letter out right around Labor Day to you if your son's going to be in Algebra 1, and just talking about what that looks like. Because they can all do it well, but it's the one you have to pay the most attention to in September, if he's in Algebra 1 next year. And in September, the big thing for him is going to be the pace. Algebra 1 is a 9th grade course. It moves at a 9th grade pace. And most of us think it's different between 8th grade pace and a 9th grade pace. And for us, we probably wouldn't feel it at all if we sat in that classroom, but for them, they do feel it. And it just, I know kids in September, they're not going to see that much new in Algebra 1 in September. They're going to be doing a lot of the stuff they did in accelerated pre-algebra as far as the algebraic math they did, but they're going to, and if they have a few extra spins on it in September, it goes fast. And I always have students come to me and say, well, if you would just slow down a little bit. Because again, it's not slowing down. And most of them, and again, the key thing is for them to stay on top of it in September. You know, and if they do something, because they should know all that material. So isn't making sense, going to extra help. And for a lot of our students, if they're not from 1 to 8th grade, it means they've been traditionally probably a pretty good math student. And they probably never had to ask a whole lot of questions. And maybe never go for a whole lot of extra help. And this will be the place where, and it's a good thing, they may have to get into the habit of asking questions and going for extra help. So it picks up paces fast in September. By about Columbus Day, most of them have sort of jumped into that pace. It's feeling normal. And then the math starts to get more difficult as they get into real algebra concepts. And then January is an interesting month in Algebra 1. They get into the most abstract pieces of Algebra 1. And for some of our 8th graders, they don't notice the difference. And for some, because that brain development hasn't quite happened yet, they're just banging their head against the wall. And it's kind of funny to see, but if you know what you're looking for, because they get very upset, they get frustrated, and it's more fun to see in May when they start to review for the exam, and some of those same kids who couldn't get it at all in January look at it and say, why was this hard? I remember this was hard, but this is not hard at all. And it is, it's just a matter of, you know, at some point in time, usually in 8th grade, they get that conceptual brain development. And they're able to do the abstract, and again, it's not that abstract, but it's abstract enough that it does affect some of the kids. So that's just, and I'll send that letter, I'll say the same thing. Every school I've worked at with 8th graders, it's always out there one that seems to throw them off. But again, it's a good challenge for them. If your son's been in Algebra 1 this year, he'll be in Geometry Honors next year. And for some, you know, geometry is so different. You know, algebra and trig and calculus sort of have a line here, and geometry is over this way somewhere. And for some, geometry is the best math they'll ever do. And for others, they don't like it, or it's frustrating, or it's just different, and when are we going to get back to the math stuff? What's all this stuff with triangles, and why do I have to do these proofs? And that logical thinking that geometry is built around will challenge some of them and will really excite others. So just see what happens. In languages, you know, I think there's a lot of, they'll be doing a bunch of review in September. You know, in Latin, Mr. Russo says October is when the students start to feel it as they start to learn the new material and they're learning it again. The pace picks up in all of in Latin. The pace picks up as they move into 8th grade. You know, it's similar to what they're doing, but they're just gaining vocabulary more quickly. You know, doing more noun charts and adjective charts, and the students are using the words in longer and more complex sentences. In the spoken languages, Chinese, French, and Spanish, I think the big thing they're going to notice is the increase in the use of the target language in class. So probably in 7th grade, a lot of days it's sort of 50-50. 50% English, 50% in the language of the class. As they move into 8th grade, we're trying to shift that to be about 90%, 90-10. 90% in the target language, 10% in English. So that's one of the things they'll notice. And for some, they get anxious about that. They get anxious about, they don't know what she just said or he just said. And you know, it's about just, hey, try to pick it up, watch the facial expressions. If you watch it, my French is pretty shaky, but if I go into French class and I sort of pay attention, I kind of think I know what's going on. And again, it's about watching, you know, the teachers do a lot, they animate a lot, so that they can speak more in the target language. And it's really helping students to sort of see, okay, I may not be getting every word, but I can kind of start to figure things out. And you know, they get used to that over time. But again, it can throw them off a little bit as it picks up. You know, if the increasing percentage of speaking in the target language picks up right at the pace the kid is comfortable with, he's happy the whole time. It's that ones who the pace is picking up just a little bit faster than they would be comfortable with. That's where they struggle. And you get a range of students in the class. So you're always going to be doing a little slower than some that you like, faster than others would like. And it's about working with those guys who are really nervous about that. They also do, in Spanish and French, they'll get into more, they'll start to work with the past tense next year, they'll get into more regular verbs next year, more grammar rules, and then indirect and direct object pronouns. A lot of difficulty with pronouns. So those are just some of the things that they will be doing. So that's really the sort of overview of the academic challenges that your sons will have, and hopefully, each of your sons will be challenged by at least one course or two courses next year. Hopefully challenged enough that they really do struggle, that their successful struggle is a good thing. Any questions about that? Any questions about the academics for next year? Yes?
3 months summer break. What do you see in September after second vacation, and would be as parents and to help them to repay some college?
Yeah, I think summer's a great time to learn in all kinds of ways. And a lot of that can be, I went to summer camp for a long time, worked at a sleepaway summer camp for a long time. I think that sort of social learning I did by being away from home was very good. Other students, other kids in summer, I think it's being active and busy. Some play a lot of sports and have a great time with that. There's a tremendous amount of social learning that should go on in the summer by being with students their age in a different setting. I would encourage, the most important thing for them to keep doing in the summer is read. And if your son loves to read, keep finding books for him to keep reading. If your son's a reluctant reader, finding books for him. And I think our English teachers are phenomenal at knowing books that that a student would like to read. And if you don't have a good sort of set of books for your sons for the summer, I would reach out to his English teacher and just say, hey, I'd love to keep him reading. Do you have any suggestions? What are other kids talking about? We'll have a summer reading assignment. They'll have to read. There'll be an all-school read, and they'll probably have 2 other books they have to read. 3 books to read over the summer is not heavy lifting. I mean, some of our guys read 3 books every week easily, just for entertainment purposes. I think one of the best things they can do for their minds is just to continue to read over the summer. Some kids will want to do some math over the summer, maybe. Not too many. Others want to. We have some great programs here. If guys want to do it, but I think it's good to do. It's a great time to pursue their interests, and I don't worry about their brains keep growing at this age at an amazing rate. Their ability to absorb more information and learn at this age, I don't worry about what they're doing over the summer, as long as they're somehow engaged. We wouldn't want a teenager sitting on the couch all summer watching television. But I think if they're out and doing things and they're getting some new experiences in their life, they don't necessarily have to be academic experiences. If there's any way, to encourage them to keep reading or to start reading whatever it is they like to read. It doesn't have to be Shakespeare. It just needs to be continue reading, hopefully reading some things that give them new understandings of the world, whether that's literature that gives them new experiences to look at the world through, or it's nonfiction where just they learn about something that they find interesting. We can continue to encourage that. They don't need their iPads all summer, so you could close those up, put them away, leave them somewhere, wherever you want. They won't need those. So it's a good time to, I would encourage, and we're doing a lot of talking about this too. So how do we encourage one, less screen time, the better, when they don't need to. And one of the things we're looking at next year is how do we, what's a better way we can foster good digital habits in our students? And again, I was meeting with 4 8th graders yesterday that were, the teacher said, hey, talk to these guys, they've got great digital habits. And we have a lot of students that do have good digital habits, but we're trying to, we're rethinking, okay, what are the habits we want them to have, and how do we encourage those things? And I think we've been talking, digital habits is like table manners. You don't tell them once, hey, this is what you should do, and these are the, and they're going to get it. As we all know, teaching table manners, it's about sitting down to meals every day with our children and reminding them to close their mouth when they're chewing, to keep their elbows off the table, and to hold the fork the right way, and to cut the meat up before they put it all in their mouth at once. And again, I don't know, maybe some of you have children that you can tell them that once when they're 5, and they're perfect table manners the rest of their lives. Mine are not like that, but I think that's the same way with digital citizenship. It's about modeling good habits about when you don't need it on, turn it off. And we're starting to do more of, when I start a study hall, I say, what is it, what do you have to do? Think about what you're doing today. If it's not on your iPad, you don't have to do work on your iPad. You don't need your iPad open. Shut it off and do the other work you're trying to do. Because some of them will just open the iPad and do this for 25 minutes straight. Or just this. I mean, they just play. And there's nothing that's going on there. So again, it's some about encouraging that, and that's one of the good things. I think in the summer it's a good opportunity, if you have any opportunity this summer, to turn off, whether that's for a week long or a weekend or a day a week, or whatever, finding ways to do that. We do have a new firewall, so on this firewall, everything is turned off. Everything is blocked from the except the things we tell it to unblock. And so, and there's huge categories. You can tell categories to unblock. And when they first said that to us, wait a minute, we have to take every single website we might be using over the next few months. And then we realized, no, you can unblock sort of whole categories, so like library, Dewey Decimal category type things, you can unblock. And then there's still some things that, even though there's a billion things unblocked, there's still some things that we just didn't think to say, hey, unblock this. And so we're working with what do we actually still need to unblock. So, but there are certain things that will probably remain blocked because they don't necessarily need to access those. The other thing that will change next year is that we are implementing a new, so we have a management software put on all of the iPads that will limit what can be on the iPads. So, and I know some parents do that themselves, and then they feel the peer pressure because the kid says, my friend doesn't have these things blocked. So it's gonna have equal blockage across everything. And that'll be the apps that can be on there. So there'll be a point in time, I know for the new students coming in, like last year you all came in and had an iPad setup session. They will do it during the setup session for the new students. I'm not sure, I don't know what the plan is yet. I may have heard it and forgotten, or I just haven't heard it yet. We're getting it on the 8th graders. Originally they said, we're just going to do it for the new 7s and the new 9s. And I said, yeah, but then we'll have 8th grade transfers. Oh yeah, we'll do it for them too. I said, we're not going to have half of the Arupe with this on and the other half for that. So we're just going to do it across the board. So you'll be getting some information about that. But I think it will limit some of the issues. We're not going to have, Safari will still be on there, and Safari allows for lots of things for them to do. And there's some other things we need on there for educational purposes that can also be used for to waste an incredible amount of time non-academic. So it's not going to solve all issues, but it is it's a new step we're taking. And again, that's one is sort of trying to limit things on it. But really, the bigger thing we're talking about is how do we teach better habits? And how do we do that on a consistent, sort of ongoing basis rather than just meetings here and there or advisory lessons or class lessons. So teams will continue next year. Some things will shift around, but they may or may not have the same team teachers next year as they have this year. The somewhat math and language drive the schedule. Whatever combination your son has on math and language, to get those scheduled first, and then we schedule out from there. It's called the HSPT, the High School Placement Test, which doesn't mean placement in classes. It's the same as the ISEE. It just has that name. It confuses people. So we will do that in December of 8th grade. They'll take it. And we'll have a parent coffee next fall about that. But one thing just to put on your radar is there are merit scholarships for the high school that are tied to the performance on that test. If your son is a good test taker, you should keep that in mind, because it can be significant amount of money that's tied to that in merit scholarships.
Okay.
We do have, usually in November, for about a month beforehand, we have what we call HSPT Club. So after school, where guys will go and they'll do practice tests and sort of work together. That was suggested by a parent long ago. His parents said, look, I can't get him to sit down and work on this, but maybe if he's got friends doing it. And so we do have that. So it's not instruction in the sense of, we teach you test-taking strategies, like a course would. But it is an opportunity for them to become familiar with the types of questions, because they go through the booklets together, and familiar with pacing. Those are the two main things they need. It's familiar with the types of questions, but a lot of times they're very different types of questions. The standardized test questions are just different from what they see on a regular basis. And pacing, David, 30 minutes for the verbal test. Wow, I just took it and only got halfway through. I need to go faster. So those are the two things that are probably crucial for that. How many 8th graders tend to receive a merit scholarship? It's usually between, say, 35, and I think we've had as many as 53 one year. You score well enough. There's a definite cutoff score every year, and so it's about hitting that score. And we've had, so it's been quite a few times. Yes, it will not impact whether he goes to 9th grade. That's going to be based on, hey, is he have a successful 8th grade? He's going to go to 9th grade. Has nothing to do with that. Nor, except in about one case a year, does it, and they're not even in the 9th grade, but more for 10th, 11th grade, nor does it really impact what classes he gets into. So placement, again, is somewhat of a name that throws people off. So it doesn't have, there's no pressure that way. Now, on the negative side of that, it does mean a lot of the students say, I'm not going to get a scholarship. So I'm not going to study for this thing. And and sometimes they just get on the test and it's a 3-hour exam, and 2 hours in, they're like, I'm just going to write dots wherever I feel like filling out. The score you're looking at on the national percentile composite score is a 90th percentile. And if you look back on the ISE, the son's really did anywhere 60th or above, he's probably got a pretty good shot to get that 90th percentile. We've even had, and again, the ISE is a weird test. So one year we had a student who got 35th percentile on the ISE, and he got 99 on the HSPT. So, don't count your son out. Sometimes they just don't have great days on the ISE, and they do on the HSPT. Just ate a better breakfast. I don't know what happened. But he's at the Naval Academy now, so it all worked out. So let me turn this over to Ms. Donuts. Something.
I'm going to make it short and sweet. I think it's funny, just to start, Bob said he likes the kids a lot, and May, I like them in May. May makes a stalker out of me. Like I am in every corner of every classroom, I feel like. A kid yesterday, I was talking to somebody else, like, you didn't go meet with your teacher during break. He's like, how did you know that? And some kid in the background was like, Miss Domas knows everything. I guess that's a good thing for them to think. But I just want to give you a little sneak peek of what I see, like socially, emotionally, and even just a little bit even with academics, but not what's happening in the class, but the push sort of that comes from me in 8th grade. It's a little bit of a conversation that will continue in the parent coffees throughout the year, because right now it's sort of a preview of what might come in 8th grade for your boys. The academics that Bob lays out is happening, right? The teachers are going to do that, the lesson plans, the curriculum. This is sort of a mixed bag. How is your son going to handle puberty and friendships and changes and everything that comes as they get older into 8th grade? So again, it's just a little bit of a light thing, but I think someone asked about teams, and that's actually where I'd like to start, is that there's a new mix. So to Bob's point, we have about 145 7th graders right now, and they think they know everybody, but they don't. There's kids that they've seen once or twice, there's kids they've never talked to, there's some that they talked to in a club at the beginning of the year, and then they feel like that's my friend, but they don't know them, they've never worked on a project with them, and next year their whole schedule can look different. So they might have different kids in their team classes, different kids in their math class. Language is going to be the one that, especially if you're in maybe the advanced French, accelerated Spanish, or Chinese, you're going to see the same students. But other than that, right, you're going to have a different mix. And I think that plays a big part. They feel pretty comfortable now by the end of 7th grade. They know people, they know who they're sitting with, and when they get to their teen class, like they know who they're going to talk to about their homework, who they're asking for help from, or going back and forth with, and they might be with totally new kids. They also might be with a mix of the same kids. But I think that puts a dynamic into the beginning of 8th grade that they're sort of not ready for. They come back like these big men on campus, which is funny. In Rubik's, it's just 2 years. You go from like bottom to the top, the bottom to the top. But they come back in, they feel good, and they might be thrown for a loop. And they might have a teacher they've never met, or they've heard something about, or their friend got the teacher they wanted, and they didn't get that teacher, and that's sort of frustrating, right? So in a school like this, the boys talk a lot, and they want to do well a lot, so they know what's happening in other teams and what the dynamics are. And I just think it's an important thing to sort of be prepared for at the beginning of the school year. Maybe some complaints if they don't have that person they wanted with them, or some excitement that they do have somebody, but to push them that we really, and I'll tell them this, like your best friend that you graduate with might be in your 8th grade science class. And you thought it was the person you've been sitting next to all 7th grade. Maybe it's not, maybe you'll meet them later, but I like to sort of push them to say that we mix them up on purpose. The point is to grow in all different types of ways. So that's something that I see in the beginning of 8th grade, is just sort of this getting used to it. And on that note, they'll also have new advisories. So Bob and I will work together over the summer to create the advisory groups again. It's similar to 7th grade, same size. It has to be somebody who teaches you. So there are 7th grade teachers that they want, like I want Miss Landers again, and Noreen is teaching only 7th grade, so that's not even an option on the table. So there's different advisors, different groups, different homeroom matches. So all of that will sort of change. Another thing I see when they come back, I am going to be fast, I promise, I'm chatty too, is that the summer changes them. So some of our boys go down different paths. Some of them hang out with BC High boys during the summer. They've made friends, or they knew them, or they see them frequently enough. Some of them go and like reconnect with their town friends. Who are the kids they haven't seen as much anymore? Who did they miss? They sort of reconnect there, and they do all their favorite summer things. You also have a third level, kids that go to camp, they go and do different things. But I think that sort of sets them up for how they walk into 8th grade. They're all good options, but some of them come back like ready to go, they've tightened friendships here. And other ones come back and they sort of re-found themselves at home, and so it's like a little bit coming in again, and they have to see how are people's summer, what did they do? They don't know as much. And that can sort of just be something that to be aware of as they come into 8th grade, that they've had different experiences over the summer where they've spent these really long days together every day here for so long, and then they're not going to have that in the same way. And no matter what, they're not going to, because they don't all live in the same town, and they're doing different things. But there's positives to it too. There's 2 freshmen that I can think of that I had, their 7th and 8th grade year, and they barely knew each other in 7th grade, and they ended up at the same camp because their parents had heard something, and they went to the same camp on the summer between 7th and 8th grade. And their friendship, like watching their friendship grow is something that, I like to reminisce about. It's fun to watch our boys find those connections with somebody that they didn't know for a year at school, and then they became so close. So I think there's lots of opportunities. The sports camps, a lot of the boys do, like at the end of the summer here, and that kind of starts to reintegrate them back into BC High and getting more comfortable. So just that sort of bridge in from the summer into the school year. Things like lunch, before school, clubs, sports, I would just keep an eye on. They'll probably stick with the same things, but this is when we can actually push them. Like they probably come up with these excuses in 7th grade. When they get into 8th grade, if you want them to try something, push them harder. That's what we do here academically. So we do as advisors here. That's what I do as a counselor here. Like you're used to this school now, and what we want you to do is grow. So we try to push them more. We want them to be involved in something and they didn't do it. Really sort of give them that carrot to try it and push them a little bit more because they're going to want to just do exactly what they did in 7th grade, and we want them all to sort of push a little bit farther than that. And the last thing that I just want to drive home that has to do with academics is this idea of independence. I, depending on the day of the week, use one of 2 metaphors for the boys. I'm either their training wheels or their bumpers when they're bowling, and I tell them that we're going to take those off as they get into 8th grade. They felt like they've had some independence, and they have, but it's going to become more and more. The teachers are going to give you longer-term projects with less hand-holding along the way, and it's up to the boys to sort of get that self-advocacy to chunk up their assignments, right? We're still here, I'm with them, and I have tried my hardest to get to know every personality throughout this year so that we know who's gonna, need some support and when. But that's something that they're gonna see, is this independence becomes more of a thing that they need to work on. And with math in particular, as Bob was mentioning, for a lot of them, it's the first time they're going to need help. So a lot of them have made it through the year, they've been very confident, and they're gonna hit a unit or a quiz or a test where they get a score that breaks them, where they can't do the homework that night at home, and they've never really hit that wall before where they don't get it. And so we have to help them here, and I try to help them a lot, like learn how to ask for help for the first time. And it's kind of fun to watch them because they get emotional and they figure it out. Like Bob said, they'll be at the end of the year and they know what they're doing. But it is a bit of a journey for them throughout 8th grade. I think that's all I'm going to go with. Anybody have any questions? It's easy. They're so nice in 8th grade, I promise.